Ladies, here's the truth. Communication is everything. If you want him to think about you constantly, miss you deeply, and feel a connection he can't shake, it's not about what you wear, how you look. It's about how you talk to him. Speaking with emotional intelligence is not just about what you say, but how you say it and how attuned you are to the emotions behind the words. When you're interacting with someone, especially a romantic partner, emotional intelligence becomes your greatest asset. It allows you to connect on a deeper level, make him feel truly understood, and build a bond that's not easily broken. Emotional intelligence is about reading the room, picking up on nonverbal cues, and adjusting your communication style in real time to match what's really going on beneath the surface. When you talk to a man with emotional intelligence, you're listening not just to respond, but to understand. You're picking up on his tone of voice, his body language, and the subtle changes in his mood. You notice when he goes quiet, when his energy shifts, or when his words don't quite align with his facial expression. And instead of jumping to conclusions or becoming defensive, you get curious, you ask questions that come from a place of care, not control. You say things like, "You seem off today, want to talk about it?" Or "It feels like something's on your mind." That kind of attentiveness makes a man feel seen in a world where he might often feel like he has to hide his emotions to be strong. It's also about regulating your own emotions. That means not snapping when you're frustrated, not sulking when you're hurt, and not withdrawing when you feel insecure. Instead, you acknowledge your feelings, breathe through them, and choose your words. Carefully, you might say, "When you didn't text me back, I felt ignored," instead of accusing him with, "You clearly don't care." See the difference. One opens the door to connection, the other builds a wall. Emotional intelligence is choosing softness over sarcasm, curiosity over judgment, and vulnerability over control. This kind of communication builds trust. And trust is magnetic. When a man knows that he can talk to you without being judged, that he can show you the parts of himself he hides from the world, he begins to associate you with safety. And that's powerful, because while attraction might start with chemistry, it deepens with emotional connection. A man can find many people attractive, but he'll only crave someone who makes him feel understood and emotionally safe. Also, emotional intelligence means giving him space when he needs it without making it about you. It's understanding that he might need a moment to process something before talking about it, and trusting that it's not a reflection of your worth. It's being strong enough in yourself that his emotional waves don't drown you, but instead you float with them until he's ready to reach out again. That kind of grace is rare and incredibly addictive. Finally, emotional intelligence means celebrating his wins, holding space for his struggles, and staying emotionally grounded no matter what's happening between you. It's the balance of warmth and wisdom, of love and boundaries. It's not losing yourself to keep him, but showing up fully so he feels inspired to do the same. When you speak with emotional intelligence, you're not just saying the right things, you're creating a dynamic where both of you can grow, love, and thrive together. That's how emotional connection turns into emotional addiction in the best, most beautiful way. Maintaining mystery and depth in communication is about revealing just enough to intrigue while holding back enough to remain captivating. It's not about playing games or being distant, it's about being intentional with what you share, how you share it, and when. When a woman exudes mystery, she becomes unforgettable, not because she hides who she is, but because she allows herself to be slowly discovered like a novel you can't put down. And depth. That's what keeps him reading past the first chapter. Mystery begins with restraint. It's in not giving every detail of your day, every thought in your head, or every feeling you experience immediately. It's resisting the impulse to overshare out of nervousness or eagerness to connect. Instead, it's choosing to speak with purpose. When you speak, your words carry weight because they aren't scattered or rushed. You speak thoughtfully with a calm confidence, and that calmness pulls people in. You don't fill silence just to avoid discomfort, you let it linger. And in doing so, you create space for curiosity. That space is powerful. It's in that space that questions arise. What is she thinking? What drives her? What's her story? When a man feels that he has more to learn about you, more to uncover, he becomes engaged on a deeper level. He pays attention. He leans in. This isn't about being cold or closed off, it's about being layered. You can be warm and welcoming while still leaving room for wonder. It's letting him discover your past, your passions, and your quirks over time, instead of laying them all out at once. Depth, on the other hand, comes from your values, your self-awareness, and the way you carry yourself. It's about having meaningful opinions, being introspective, and showing that you've lived, learned, and evolved. You're not just fun to talk to, you make him think. You challenge his ideas with kindness, not confrontation. You bring up topics that matter. You're the kind of woman who can talk about travel, art, spirituality, personal growth, or future dreams with ease. Your conversations move past the surface and invite real connection. When you have depth, you also know yourself. You've spent time alone, reflecting, healing, and growing. That inner work shows in the way you speak, listen, and love. You don't need to dominate the conversation or prove your worth with stories or achievements. Your energy speaks for itself. You ask questions that matter. You remember details. You don't just talk, you truly connect. And when you open up, it's with intention, not desperation. Maintaining mystery and depth also means knowing the difference between intimacy and overexposure. Some people confuse vulnerability with telling everything right away, but true vulnerability requires trust, and trust is built gradually. You don't need to rush the emotional closeness. When you reveal something personal, let it be a gift, not a flood. Let him earn your deeper truths and value the parts of you he hasn't seen yet. That anticipation, that unfolding, that's what makes you unforgettable. You become the woman who lingers in his thoughts, not because you're trying to be elusive, but because your presence is rich, your spirit is full, and your words are chosen with care. He can sense that there is more to you, always more, and that's what draws him in. You're not mysterious because you're hiding, you're mysterious because you're deep, and depth is rare. In a world that celebrates instant access and constant sharing, choosing to be deliberate, thoughtful, and emotionally rich makes you stand out in the most magnetic way. Using playful confidence is one of the most powerful ways to create attraction and emotional chemistry with a man. It's not about arrogance or being over the top, it's about bringing lightness, wit, and ease into your interactions while still owning your worth. Playful confidence shows that you're secure in who you are, and that security is laced with charm, fun, and a little bit of sass. It's a balance between teasing and being warm, between showing interest and holding your own. It makes every conversation feel like an inside joke waiting to happen, and every moment spent with you feel unpredictable in the best way. When you speak with playful confidence, you're not trying too hard to impress. You're not filtering yourself to fit a mold or shrinking to make someone else comfortable. Instead, you're showing up fully and unapologetically with a smile on your face and a sparkle in your voice. You let your natural personality come through, and that authenticity is magnetic. You can laugh at yourself, make him laugh, and keep things light without losing depth. You bring out his playful side too, because your energy is contagious. Teasing, when done with kindness and charm, is a major tool of playful confidence. It's how you flirt without being obvious, how you challenge him in a way that excites him rather than intimidates him. Maybe you gently mock something he said with a raised eyebrow and a smirk, or playfully compete over something silly. Maybe you joke about how he's lucky to have your attention, or how you'll only keep talking if he earns it. This playful energy keeps him on his toes, keeps him laughing, and makes him look forward to the next moment with you. But playful confidence is also about how you handle attention. You don't chase or cling, you respond with grace. You know your value, and that shows in the way you carry yourself. If he compliments you, you might say, "I know I'm kind of amazing," with a wink, or "took you long enough to notice." You're not fishing for validation, and you're not afraid to be cheeky. You're inviting him into a space where the connection is easy, fun, and irresistibly alive. This kind of confidence also shows in how you handle silence, awkward moments, or even rejection. You don't crumble. You stay relaxed and open. If something doesn't land perfectly, you laugh it off. If he's unsure or distant, you don't panic, you stay playful, knowing that your energy is still magnetic. That calm playfulness makes him feel comfortable around you. It tells him that you're not here to control the dynamic, but to enjoy it. That lighthearted energy is rare and incredibly attractive. Playful confidence also means you can shift the mood. You know when to bring in a joke to lighten a heavy moment, or when to use humor to diffuse tension. It's emotional intelligence with a wink. And while you're playful, you're also grounded. You know what you want, and you're not afraid to say it, but you do so with grace and humor, not pressure or demand. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You show it, and you let your energy speak for itself. Ultimately, when you use playful confidence, you become the kind of woman who leaves a lasting impression. He'll think of your smile, your laughter, your quick comebacks, and your undeniable self-assurance. He'll remember how you made him feel excited, challenged, entertained, and at ease all at once. And that combination, that's addictive, because in a world full of people trying to be perfect, being confidently playful is exactly what sets you apart. Creating a safe space in a relationship is not about building walls to protect emotions, but rather cultivating an environment where both people feel free to be their truest selves, without fear of judgment, rejection, or emotional punishment. For a man who may have been raised in a culture that often discourages vulnerability or emotional expression, this kind of space can be incredibly healing and transformative. When you offer that kind of emotional safety, you don't just become someone he enjoys talking to, you become someone he trusts on a soul deep level. And that kind of connection makes him want to be around you constantly. A safe space begins with your energy. It's in how you listen, not just with your ears, but with your eyes, body language, and tone. When he speaks, you give him your full attention, not just waiting to respond or insert your own story, but truly taking in what he's saying. You make him feel like his words matter. Even if they're clumsy or uncertain, you don't interrupt. You don't correct, you hold space, and that quiet attentiveness says you can be real with me. When a man feels safe, he begins to open up. He starts to share pieces of himself he doesn't show to everyone else. It may start small, a comment about stress at work, a memory from childhood, a worry about the future. These are moments of emotional testing. He's watching how you react. If you respond with understanding, patience, and warmth, he'll continue to open up. If you laugh, criticize, or try to fix everything immediately, he'll retreat. Creating a safe space is about letting his feelings exist without needing to change them or take them personally. Sometimes the most powerful response is simply, "That makes sense," or "I hear you." But a safe space also means you're consistent. Your moods don't swing wildly based on his behavior. You don't guilt trip or use silence as a weapon. You don't punish him for expressing something difficult. You show that you can hold emotional complexity with strength and calmness. That emotional steadiness is rare and incredibly attractive. It tells him you don't have to walk on eggshells around me. It also means you honor his pace. If he's not ready to talk about something, you don't push. If he's more internal, you don't demand constant emotional access. You give him room to breathe while still being emotionally available. You're not trying to control how or when he opens up. You're simply there, showing up consistently, warmly, and with quiet strength. That patience builds trust. And trust once built makes vulnerability feel safe. Creating a safe space also means sharing your own emotions with clarity and responsibility. You don't bottle things up, but you don't explode either. You say things like, I felt hurt when that happened, instead of attacking. You own your feelings and model how emotional openness can look and feel. That vulnerability from you gives him permission to show up more emotionally too. Physical presence matters as well. It's in your eye contact, your touch, your stillness. A gentle hand on his shoulder, a calm voice when he's upset, or simply sitting beside him in silence can say more than words ever could. You're telling him with your body, you're not alone. You're safe here. When a man feels that kind of emotional safety, he begins to crave it. Not because you're trying to fix him, change him, or win him, but because you've become a space where he can exhale. In a world that demands so much performance, that kind of emotional refuge becomes everything. And when he finds that in you, he won't want to let it go. Being clear with your standards is one of the most powerful ways to command respect, create attraction, and build a relationship that feels balanced and fulfilling. When you express what you want, what you won't tolerate, and what you truly value, you show a man that you know yourself, and that self-knowledge is magnetic. You become someone who isn't just hoping to be chosen, but someone who's doing the choosing. That clarity doesn't push him away, it draws the right one closer. Because men are deeply attracted to women who move through the world with self-respect and purpose. Having standards doesn't mean being rigid or demanding. It means having a strong sense of your own worth and not compromising it to gain approval or keep someone's attention. When you're clear about your standards, you don't have to constantly negotiate your boundaries or explain why certain behaviors are unacceptable. Your presence says it for you. You communicate through your choices, your tone, and your consistency. And in doing so, you teach people how to treat you. It starts with knowing what you will and will not accept in a relationship. You're not afraid to walk away from someone who doesn't meet those standards, not because you're harsh, but because you value your peace, your growth, and your time. Maybe that means you won't tolerate inconsistent communication, emotional unavailability, or a lack of respect. Or maybe it means you expect real effort, deep conversations, and shared goals. Whatever your standards are, they're rooted in your values and vision for your life. Being clear also means expressing those standards calmly and confidently. You don't need to be confrontational or overly serious about it. You can say something as simple as, I really value consistency in communication. It helps me feel secure in a relationship, or I'm looking for something that's intentional and aligned, not just casual. These aren't ultimatums, they're statements of truth. When you express your standards early, you filter out the ones who aren't aligned early, and you save yourself from wasting emotional energy. What's even more powerful is when your actions reflect your words. If you say you want honesty and someone lies, you don't argue or plead, you walk away. If you say you value emotional availability and someone shuts down consistently, you don't chase, you let go. That follow through is what builds trust and admiration. A man may not always agree with your standards, but if he respects you, he will rise to meet them or respectfully step aside. Having standards also means you don't settle just because there's chemistry or potential. You don't cling to someone's good qualities while ignoring the red flags. You don't justify bad behavior because you like him. You hold the vision of the relationship you want clearly in your mind, and you trust that the right person will want to build that with you, not make you compromise your values to keep them around. You lead with truth, not fear. When you're clear with your standards, you inspire a different kind of connection, one that's based on mutual respect, intention, and real alignment. The right man won't be scared off by your strength. He'll be drawn to it. He'll feel inspired to show up as his best self because he knows he's dealing with a woman who won't accept less than she deserves. And that clarity, that unwavering sense of what you bring and what you expect creates not just attraction, but lasting emotional security. It sets the tone for a relationship where both people feel valued, challenged, and deeply respected. Speaking in a way that sparks emotion is about going beyond the surface and using your words to create a deep, unforgettable experience. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it, how present you are when you say it, and how connected you are to the feelings behind your words. When you speak from a place of authenticity, passion, and emotional depth, you stir something inside the other person. You pull them out of autopilot and into the moment you make them feel. And when a man feels deeply around you, he connects deeply to you. The way you speak can create intimacy, excitement, warmth, even mystery, all without needing to be overly dramatic or intense. It begins with being in tune with your own emotions. When you're connected to what you're feeling, your tone, expressions, and body language naturally align with your message. That alignment makes your words powerful and real. You don't have to perform or force it. When you say something with genuine excitement, it shows in your eyes, your smile, the rhythm of your voice. When you express vulnerability, it's in the softness of your words, the way you pause, the emotion that lingers in your silence. Speaking emotionally also means using storytelling. Instead of listing facts or giving summaries, you share moments. You bring someone into your world by painting a picture with your words. You don't just say, I had a rough day, you describe how you walked out into the rain without an umbrella, how the silence in your apartment felt heavier than usual, how the coffee shop ran out of your favorite drink, and it weirdly felt like the last straw. These kinds of small sensory details bring emotion to life. They allow the other person to feel what you felt, to see the world through your eyes. It's also about asking the kinds of questions that spark emotion in return. Instead of how was your day, you ask what made you feel most alive today, or what's been on your heart lately. These aren't surface level check-ins, they're emotional invitations. And when you listen to the answers with full attention, without judgment or without distraction, you create a container for emotional intimacy. He feels safe opening up because he knows you're not just hearing him, you're feeling him. Your voice itself becomes an emotional instrument. You play with tone, rhythm, and pacing. Sometimes you slow down to emphasize a moment. Sometimes you lower your voice to create a sense of closeness. Sometimes you get animated to bring energy and lightness. You're not monotone or robotic, you're expressive and alive. You allow your emotions to shape your delivery, and in doing so, you captivate the listener. You also know how to bring contrast, light, and shadow. You don't just speak with intensity all the time or stay in lightheartedness forever. You move between playfulness and seriousness, between joy and softness. That emotional range keeps things dynamic and real. It mirrors life. It shows that you're someone who can ride the emotional waves instead of being afraid of them. And that kind of woman, a woman who can laugh, cry, challenge, and nurture with her words, is unforgettable. When you speak in a way that sparks emotion, you leave a mark. A man won't just remember what you said, he'll remember how you made him feel. He'll remember the moment you shared a story that made him smile unexpectedly, or a truth that gave him goosebumps, or a quiet confession that made him see you in a whole new way. That's what keeps someone emotionally connected and coming back, not just attraction, but the undeniable emotional impact of your presence and your voice.